So I hope the butt doesn't distract us from what's going to be an amazing conversation. I want to bring my great friend, I will say, first. That's the only way I can really describe Rachel nowadays. She's just a wonderful human being and a great friend. And I want you all to meet her. So coming on now. Hey!
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Hello, how are you all? I'm all right, thank you. How are you all?
Very good, very good. Now, I'm just hoping that there's not going to pick up any interference on audio to that. I hope not. If it does,
I can hear. Can I hear? I can hear a little bit of feedback. Yeah.
A little bit. Can one of the team next door give me a shout if it's okay for everyone else? That'd be great. Or I think it sounds okay this time.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Well, we can keep talking and seeing what it sounds like.
Yeah, someone will tell us, I'm sure. So, for those who don't know who Rachel Hales is, which, I mean, I don't know who wouldn't know who Rachel Hales is.
Try these earphones, you there?
No worries. I'm with you. So
love a bit of technology, don't we?
Yes, here she's back. So, for those who don't know who Rachel is, who is Rachel?
Who is Rachel? I liked what Carl said when he said first and foremostly I'm a dad. I thought that was really nice.
Remember that stuck with me all day.
Who is Rachel? I guess probably I'm not going to talk a huge amount about my business, but what I guess where I met you was I find the synergy between businesses, charities, and social enterprises to help to build strategic and meaningful partnerships for the greater good. Basically, I think it's important for business to engage in their communities, as we've talked about loads. So I'm a bit of a matchmaker when I run networking events, training, and deliver consultancy, basically helping businesses and charities build relationships a little bit more meaningfully than just asking for money or sending a letter in the post saying, can I have cash? Or businesses jumping to charities saying, can I come tomorrow and do a volunteer day with 30 staff, please?
And what's interesting is, so I would say I'm not a fan of networking, and I actually said this at an event. I said this at an event recently, and Rachel was in the room, and I said I'm not a fan of networking in the traditional sense of networking. And I saw Rachel just raise her eyebrows, look at me. I was like, unless there's purpose, networking with purpose is what Rachel does, and it's a phenomenal. I just love going just to meet. I mean, I've met Romsey Mill, Sports Connections Foundation. Who else have I met through there?
After Umbridge, Estonia.
Yes, yeah. What about the Umbridge?
After Umbridge, yeah, Tracy Wilkinson.
Yeah, after Umbridge, yeah. Met all these and just beyond that, just the network that's kind of surrounded that has been wonderful. So, yeah, it's great to have you here. Now,
thank you.
You immediately like, Alex, I've got someone else who would really like to have a conversation, which is your go-to on everything, because you want to enable other people all the time. And I do want to get Lee on here. We will find a way to have a conversation at some point, no doubt. But I know we talk a lot personally about the life of a social entrepreneur. Are you happy to share some of your recent experiences? Like, are you obviously we had a bit back and forth. But are you sure? Are you happy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're kind of still going through it at the moment, but that doesn't mean that I can't or don't want to share it. I think it was interesting. So I thought I could come on and talk about how I think businesses engaging in their communities is good for their well-being, because I think it's important for their employees to give back. I think it keeps perspective. I don't think businesses should be all about driving profit, but they should also look at purpose and how they can engage in the communities that serve them. So I could talk about that. But then I also felt I was being slightly inauthentic when I'm actually going through a difficult situation personally. And I thought, actually, I just want to be a bit more real and just share my own experience of caring through a loved one through a mental health breakdown. So that's why I'm here, really. So I'm really happy to share and talk about it.
So I don't want to, I don't really want to ask a question. I want you to have a safe space.
Yeah.
To tell us what you feel is appropriate in this moment that you feel safe to do so, and if it's okay with you, we can then reflect on that together and hopefully learn from something that together. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. I was having a think about what I would share, and I think Luke talked about Sorry, the sound's gone. I can't hear anything. There we go.
I muted my end so you don't get any feedback.
Oh, okay. I
think
can't
there's a
hear
bit of
myself.
echo, but I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, can't hear myself. So basically, when Luke was sharing about losing his mum, I also lost my father suddenly at the age of 55 through a heart attack. Quite a close-knit family unit. I was still living at home and my brother and sister weren't. And that was really, really sudden, as you can imagine, wasn't expected. And so we were there sort of having going through the trauma of losing my dad. And then my mum ended up a couple of months later having a mental health breakdown. She ended up in Fulbourn for hospital for about 8 weeks. And I think perhaps if she hadn't have gone in there, I think our siblings may have had some kind of breakdown ourselves. My sister was the eldest. She was caring for all of us and holding the family together. And I think through that experience, I have little memory of the loss of my father and the whole thing, because I think the trauma, you lose your dad and then suddenly your mum's not your mum anymore. She was like an 8-year-old. She couldn't dress. She couldn't do anything. I would come away from being out at work and she'd be in bed. And eventually she was asked if she would like to admit herself, and she did. And that was a really healing time for her. And I think the support that she got there was brilliant. But I stayed at home looking after my mum for about another 6 years. We've got a really close relationship. She is my role model and my inspiration in many things. She's an incredible woman. And she's rebuilt her life, actually. But fast forward on kind of 22 years, and my husband phones me from work and he says, I think I need you to come and pick me up. Am I having a mental health breakdown? And I said, I don't know. And this was only 2 months ago. And he was in his work van and he just said, I just don't think I can drive. And I got a taxi there. I was with a client. I got a taxi there. I can drive the van. So I turned up and I just looked at him and he was just vacant in his eyes. That's all I could, like, it was like, where's my Ed gone, you know? And then from there, we accessed the mental health crisis team. They did a phone assessment. This was following going to the GP, who I must say, Woodland Surgery. People talk about the NHS. The support we have had has been absolutely incredible. And the mental health crisis team did an assessment on the phone. They were concerned about his suicidal ideation and basically what he was saying. And I think he was just in such emotional turmoil. The pain that he was in meant he just wanted it all to go away, which is exactly what happens, isn't it, with people when it just builds and builds. I think they then were a bit more concerned and sent somebody to assess us in person. And by that point, he was starting to turn a little bit more of a corner. So, yeah, supporting a loved one through a mental health crisis.
Rachel, thank you so much for sharing that. It's amazing that you have, and I'd like to know from your perspective, because I know it's still raw as well. I know it's still raw, so please at any point just be like, Alex, shut up, don't want to talk about it anymore. That's fine. You've got so much going on as well. Like there are multifaceted impacts on you personally. I want to talk about you, Rachel. The impact on you as a lot of business owners would watch this. A lot of people that run their own businesses or freelance or run their own charities are watching this back. Like, what's that impact been like, and how have you coped with that challenge?
Yeah, I think often we look at the individual who is going through the crisis and we try to put all the support in place for them, and understandably, I think part of the support package, I was a good protective factor for my husband, that I was able to be at home. Thankfully, I worked for myself. I could work whilst my husband was sleeping or resting. And I really thank God for that, because had I been out at work, I probably would have had to have taken time off. So working for myself meant I can do my business around caring for him. I think the first couple of weeks in, walking him down to the doctor's surgery, which is like 20 minutes away, and he couldn't open his eyes and he was just, I don't want to open my eyes. I'd walk him down to the surgery, little things like trying to getting him out every day just to go for a walk. And I think all of that, me kind of holding it together, and because of my experience with my mum, and then I was able to call my mum and talk to her about what I was struggling with, like, he's not responding like I know him to. I'm not feeling I'm my husband's here. I've lost my husband, effectively, his personality, things and I'm like, I just need to be here to love him, really, through this process. And my mum, because she'd been there, she was able to say, yeah, this is kind of what happens. And so thankfully, not that I would ever want my mum to have gone through what she went through, but how that experience helped me to be able to understand what was going on. But yeah, I think probably about a month in, I was starting to get to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can hold this together anymore. And we went away for a few days in Wales next to the sea. And it's almost like I met an angel. This woman was in the coffee shop called Kathy. And we start having a conversation, and she has faith like me and my husband. And she started talking about her own experiences of her husband going through a mental health breakdown. And I'm like, of all the chances, sitting having a coffee on a Sunday morning in Wales next to the sea and having a coffee, and I'd left my husband at home just to rest. And she said to me, the most important thing you need to do, Rachel, is to protect your marriage. And I realised at that point that I probably wasn't drawing on the support structures around me as much as I should have done, because you're just an autopilot, right? So we forget to care about the people who are caring for somebody, because if I don't look after me, I can't support him in the best way. And I think at that point, I was running my business. I was concentrating mostly on my clients that needed work from me. But I just ended up thinking, my priority is my husband. Yes, my business is important to me. Yes, I love it. But actually, I need to invest in caring for him as much as I can. So I just reprioritized. As you would know, I was going to do a podcast called the With Purpose podcast, highlighting those business and charity partnerships. I cancelled 15 people and said, guys, I'm really sorry. I just need to prioritize my family and my husband right now. And all my clients have been absolutely understanding and amazing. I have had to put my business on hold, but you know what? I'll do that again. And we've been fine. He has actually going back to work this week. He was working for somebody, decided through this experience to go back working self-employed for himself. He's a builder, very skilled builder, and he trained with his father when he was young. And he's going to go back and do that. So we're going to have a bit more time together, which is really exciting. But I want to say thanks to the Federation of Small Businesses, because that isn't a shout out to them necessarily to plug this up. But Jeremy said, you know, we've got a mental health nurse care team that you can call. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, so I have been. And so I've got my own mental health nurse I talk to. And I've just had to reprioritize and think about the pace, because I just don't have the bandwidth, really.
Yeah, can I also just say that, Rachel, that is a couple of things, is that your mum and your husband have shown so much bravery. Your mum to admit that she needed more professional help at that time. You know, it sounds like she's just heartbroken from losing her husband. But also, with your husband, the bravery to come to his wife and say, look, I'm having a mental health breakdown, I really need help, shows the bravery in him to actually admit to a loved one that he's going through that, which in some cases is really hard, but also shows the strength of your marriage. Because it actually shows from a husband point of view, telling his wife that he really needs help shows how strong of a relationship you two have. For him to then go, right, you need to come and get me. I just think that's so powerful, and it doesn't happen to a lot of couples.
Yeah, my husband's I think through this process he's been quite open. Thank you for that. We've only been married 2 years, actually. We've known each other for 4. But I waited for him all my life. I wasn't prepared to compromise to find the right person. And I believe, you know, we were, God put us together in this time and season. And so I'm really thankful for that. What I always loved about him was his honesty. You know, I think his breakdown was triggered by work-related stress. But I do feel, and my husband knows everything I'm going to talk about today anyway. I said, is there anything... You know, he goes, Rachel, say whatever you want to say. I'm totally happy with it. And I think his past experiences probably do feed into this. So we are looking at private therapy. He's on medication. He's got guys around him that have been in a church community and they've reached out, spent time with him. Some people taking him golfing. He's got a good network. So we've tried to put a structure around me and him, because the pressure it would have had on our relationship, because he was already seeing the effect it was having on me. I was heartbroken seeing him in such pain. He was struggling, and I knew that we both needed to find out outlets to talk, but also to support one another. So thank you for that. And this last couple of days, if I'm honest, he had triggers where it sent him back again. So over this last couple of months, there's been progress, and then something would happen and it would trigger. And so we are still in a journey, and we are taking lots of noise can bother him, or just how much of his capacity he's got at the minute. But oh gosh, he's just been so humorous this weekend. I'm like, oh, that's my Eddie coming back. You know, like he teases me so much, and I love it. I just thought, oh, this is so nice. So yeah, thank you for that.
That's right. And also, just very quickly as well, my sister's favourite place was Wells on Sea. And it was actually, and it was the last place she went to before she passed away. And like I said about losing my mum, my two siblings had left home as well. So we've got a lot in common.
Wow. Yeah, little did we know. Yeah. And I think actually, if we look back 22 years ago when it happened with my mum, I didn't talk about it. I shut everything. My sister and my mum wanted to talk about the death of my father. You're absolutely right, Luke. She'd known my dad since she was 13. She'd never learnt to build her own independence. She hid a lot behind my father, not me intentionally so. It was just very natural back then. She looked after us. That was her role. She didn't need to work. And so when my dad went, it's like, I can't do anything. And that anxiety of losing her loved one that she'd known from 13, but also I don't know how to do life without him, was such a traumatic experience for her. And I can't remember my point of what I was saying. Don't know. What was I saying?
It's okay. It's okay. I can rescue. I
Lost
can
the thought of that.
rescue you with some love.
Yeah, there was a point there, but I can't remember what the point was.
No, it's fine. So you've got a couple of things I just want to highlight in the comments, because I think it's nice in these moments when you share to know that it's received in such a warming way. And you clearly feel that here. Yeah. But I think Jackie's point really resonates, and also, you've got to say a massive special hello to Courtney. You think if there's someone that you've introduced us to, like, we love Courtney. We can't wait to have Courtney on later, and we have massive love for her. But Sully's point here, I know you touched on it. Yeah. But he is lucky, man. Very much. Very lucky to have you, and that's a great point. Like to let you to allow you to be open to you having this conversation means a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just I don't know if you want to come in on that at all.
Well, I'm just in awe of Rachel and her husband, really, because it's such a difficult situation that you're navigating right now. To be not only navigating it and supporting each other and reaching out to your community, because that's what really helps and supports you, but to share it with us all today is incredible. So thank you for doing it, because what you probably don't realise is that you'll be sharing it and there'll be someone listening today, and that really helps them. Yeah, because it's in the sharing of it. It helps us, but it also helps people around us who might be going through similar things or seeing similar, just behaviours, actions in someone close to them. And knowing that other people are going through it and getting through it can be really, really helpful. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was another, actually, I think that's quite important, because I was with a client once and we had an online meeting, and we didn't do the meeting at all. She started talking to me about very much what I was going through with my husband, obviously now, but not at the time. We were, weren't married then, but she was sharing about her going through this mental health stuff with her husband. So we didn't do a consultancy session at all. I just let her talk. Like, empathy can be so, you can empathize somebody, but you can't really relate until you've actually been through it. So when it happened to me, the first person I wanted to call was her and say, can we meet? Can I talk through what I'm experiencing, how I'm feeling, my anger, my frustration, my disappointment, my sadness, my pain, all of this? Can I talk? And she's like, yeah. So I sat down with her for coffee. We met about 3 weeks ago, and I was like, how did you? And it was so brilliant. But if she hadn't shared with me and been honest, I wouldn't have been able to be in a position to go, can you help me through this? And I think it is so important, Justin, to share. And it's not very easy for a lot of people, but I think through experiences both my husband and I have been through in our lives, we quite don't mind being kind of quite open about, because I think that's the kind of people we are. So yeah.
That's amazing.
No, thank you.
Can I ask? You touched on. I think it's. I want to just to re-emphasize a point around the business stuff, because your success in what you do. As you know, I'm a big fan. I'm gutted about the podcast, but I can't wait for it to come back. And and it'll be so worth the wait, because the impact will have grown since there from all those relationships. You said it, and I want to re-emphasize the point. It's totally okay if you've got shit going on as a business owner or a freelancer or whatever your situation, to say no, stop. Totally, I just want to stop it all. I need some space. It can wait, and it absolutely can wait. And the opportunities cycle on repeat. They're like waves. The best thing, Lord Billamoria, founder of Cobra, said to me, as a name drop, said opportunities. He sees the market. Opportunities are it's like waves. The waves just keep on coming, and they will just continuously come. Yeah. And sometimes you hit that wave in such a way, we all feel like this, when you just hit that wave, you're like, whoa, I'm just surfing, man. Everything's just hitting home. That's sold out, that's going on. And we've all hit those waves, but you can hit that wave multiple times. Yeah. And it's always going to keep coming round. So take comfort, anyone who's listening to this. Rachel is an example of this. I can't wait. I'll wait 6 months, I'll wait 6 years for that text. I will. And I know when it comes that I'll be there waiting to support and be there to support Networking with Purpose, and you personally, until when you need me. You take as long as you need.
Thank you. And I think if you're building your community of people around you that know you as a business connection, but also a friend and somebody who really values and aligns with what you do, people aren't going anywhere. And I think I had to go. And actually, the response I had from everybody when I said, I'm really sorry, was just so warming, that I felt really encouraged. And I think I'd built that community around me of like-minded people. We said, didn't we, building like-minded people around you. But actually, sounds really weird, but I'm always a little bit of a fan of challenging situations, because I think they build your character and they shape you as people. And I think we were never promised life was ever going to be easy. And these experiences help you to see the world differently or understand the world differently. And I think this experience was a bit of a, not only for my husband having a bit of a reset, but myself as well. And it actually, having this period of time, we don't create it enough in our time when we're running a business to stop, reflect, reset, and say, where am I? And these 2 months have been a really good process for me to really refocus on my priorities. I talked about pace. The pace I was probably going at was probably a bit too fast. I want to live one day at a time. I want to plan for the future, but I want to be fully present. And I think we need to not worry so much about tomorrow and live for today. But there's a lot about pace, priorities, what is important, what do I say no to say yes to something else that's more important, and that's okay. And I want to live out my purpose of what I think I was here to do and what I think I'm good at. And if we get so caught up in the rat race of comparison, driving our business, what we think success is, it can be quite exhausting. And I think this season has got me to go, actually, I'm going to reset a bit. And I'm quite excited. And I think that the space has given me an opportunity to think much more creatively with what I want to do going forward than perhaps I'd given myself credit for before. So I always see something positive out of challenging situations, because I think, well, you might as well.
I love that. You got just beautiful self-awareness, which takes us right back to where we started the whole day. When we had Mike Farrington in here, and we've had Ed. I mean, we just had. I know.
I think he's listening.
Of course he is. I mean, it's just wonderful, and I just wanted you to be. I know. It could have been. It would have been very easy for you not to do this today. And it would have been easy for me to say, don't worry about it, Rachel, I'll go and let's let someone else go in that slot. There are people, I've put one on screen. People needed to hear that, Rachel.
Yeah, massive.
And like massive
So
respect
important.
and so much love. And I'm going to come and find you and give you a hug in the next month or so, one way or the other.
Brilliant. And, if there's anyone out there who is struggling, I do absolutely believe in the right support, mental health services, medication, therapy. But if there is anyone out there that is supporting a lot or goes through this process or whatever, I'm absolutely happy to to chat, you know, support whatever way I can, because many people have done that for me. And I also think finding just a little network around you. You don't need loads of people, just a couple of people who you could be your go-to. I want to also give a shout out to Antonia Brickell. She has and did
She's a
message me
legend. Antonia's a ledge.
every other day, checking in. How you doing? Do you need anything? Don't need to reply. Checking in. How you doing? I'm thinking of you. Do you need anything? Constantly. I cannot fault her love and care that she's given me over this time is phenomenal, and that's meant a huge amount to me.
She's lovely. She's such a ledge. I can't wait. As you know, I've been working with her. She even sent me some. I think I told her, but I had a bad back, and she sent me some ginger in the post.
She's
That's what she does.
She's a
She
beautiful
does.
human
There
being.
was no reason. She didn't say that she was doing it. This ginger's been sat in our office for ages. Like, who the hell sent ginger to us? And I caught up with Antonia, and she was like, "Did you get the ginger?" I was like, "Such a legend, such a lovely person."
She's got a beautiful heart, that woman. And you talked earlier about surrounding yourself around people that are like-minded, that share your values. And I just think when you're in the business world, you can be quite lonely on your own. I work for myself. I have my little community, little people I call on to do things, but creating your community around you of people that you can call on and just it can be crap day to day, but hey, you know, tomorrow's a new day is so important, particularly around mental wellness as well.
Bless you so much, Rachel. Thank you for joining us this year. I asked a good question to Nicola last time. I kind of want to carry it on.
Go on.
If you were going to ask you, and actually this is totally relevant because Rachel did this to me recently. So I got a postcard in the hub because I went to an event and she told me to write a postcard to. It was about what I'm going to do to support Rachel, and my message to myself was support Rachel relentlessly, whatever she needs. That was my message on my postcard to Rachel. For the networking with purpose thing. Right. So I'm gonna ask Rachel what we asked Nicola. If you were going to tell yourself something a year from today, what would you say?
Sounds really cheesy, but you have to be in the moment and live one day at a time. I think you don't know what tomorrow brings, do you? And we're so driven to all these big, you know, you have to look at what's important and what matters here and now. And I think you just have to, live in the moment, be in the moment.
So maybe that message is thank you for living in the moment.
Yeah.
Well done, Rachel. Love you.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys too. Thank you for everything you're doing. And we'll catch up again soon. Yeah, take care.
Send you best wishes, you and your husband. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank
See
you.
Read the
Bye.
comments afterwards. You'll love it.
Okay, I will. Thank you, guys.
Bless you.
Thanks, Rachel. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
That's nice.